Welcome to the
soft open.
Welcome in to a Wednesday edition. Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
God, I'm thrown off this week.
I know.
I'm all over the place
It's
this
already
week.
Wednesday.
Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered right here by our friends over at Go Chevrolet. If you don't mind, hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you starting your Wednesday here with us. We got a jam-packed show here. We're going to talk to Josh Pate from Go 247 and CBS Sports coming up here at 7:30 this morning. We will also hear from Brody Miller, who covers the Tigers for The Athletic at 8 a.m. And then Jacques Doucet is going to be in studio with us at 8:30 this morning. We're also taking your phone calls and your voicemails and your feedback. I see all of you Florida State fans on Twitter and all over social media. Here's your opportunity to get at the show. You can dial us up, 225-229-7741. We make it easy for you to remember. We call the suffix of it.
Oh, no.
11 voicemails?
11 notifications.
Hell yeah.
Let's see.
Hell yeah.
I don't want him to call and go at us. I want him to call and get to know us.
Well, I mean,
Sweet.
they can get to know us.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, the Florida State community obviously is not used to winning. And I get it.
Not since the 90s.
3 straight 5-7 seasons will do that to you. A national championship in 2013 when the coach spurned you because you pretty much called the athletic administration cheap. And it's been a long time since the 90s. I mean, in fact, I would say that Baton Rouge pretty much gave you the best offensive player in your program's history, and Warwick Dunn will sprinkle in a Travis Minor, and you're welcome.
Now you are going to make him call in and be angry.
Well, they already are very
I know,
angry.
but you're
very,
feeling
very
them now.
angry. I mean, it seems as if the Florida State crowd suffers from a lot what we've seen from some of the LSU fan base, which is the Little Dick syndrome that seems to be prevalent in Tallahassee because of the mentions on Twitter. It seems that you all failed to remember that you won the game. You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I'm saying.
you
Y'all
won the game. And I know it came down to the last play where you had to block the field goal after LSU probably couldn't have played any worse, but you won, and you're still jumping in the mentions to make sure that we realize that. If you go back to Monday's show, we called ourselves on everything we were wrong on, right? And the thing that we were most wrong on was that LSU's defensive line was going to be dominant. What we were correct on was that your offensive line was overweight and unathletic. The fact that LSU's defensive line got beat by that type of player in that group was the most alarming part. We were wrong about LSU's defensive line. We weren't wrong on the evaluation of Florida State's
About y'all
offensive
being
line.
fatties.
Right. I mean, very pudgy, very unathletic, very club-footed. It just was that your quarterback was making plays, man. I mean, they give Travis a ton of credit. He was flushed out of the pocket all night. Norvell and staff did a great job of calling plays for him, which LSU's side did not. And Florida State won the game. Congratulations on the win. If you want to go back to Monday, we held ourselves accountable to all that we were wrong on in that game and in the lead up. We were very arrogant and cocky last week running our mouth, and we know it. But for everybody to still be in the mentions on a Wednesday, I mean, really does give the glaring look into how insecure the Florida State fan base is and how long it has been since you won. I mean, really, you put off this air of it's been just such a long time since you've actually been relevant in college football. And I get it. But call us up, 8:30 this morning, or just around the show. We'll have our voicemail, phone opportunities, voicemail opportunities, 225-229-7741. We call it Rofe Camara on the back end because Willie Rofe, Alvin Kamara, 7741. Easy way to remember it, 225-229-7741. All right, so we're going to talk to Josh Pate, Brody Miller, and we're going to talk to Jacques coming up here at 8:30 this morning. We'll take your voicemails, we'll take your call-ins, and we'll take your questions inside of the chat. Just hashtag Mailbag, which we do every Wednesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Everybody talking about yesterday's press conference with Brian Kelly, and we were there. We were in the room, and Coach Kelly came in early. He walked up to the podium around 11:54, which was very different, as we said, even last week when he started the press conference on time at noon. This is a presser that usually would start 12:15, 12:30-ish in years past with other coaches. Kelly, obviously, very poignant, very on time, and very direct in his communication. He gets in there a little early yesterday, and the entire crew from the Advocate comes shuffling in about 3 minutes late. Led by Wilson Alexander, great hair, great leadoff hitter coming in first. Everybody's kind of like, whoa, Wilson, beat writer, a little late. Next, here comes Rabs, the legend. The old guard, Scott Rabelais, clubbing in on his size 14 New Balances, dragging his briefcase, trying to just squeak, kind of come into the room, not making a noise, but everybody looking at the door and noticing the Advocate crew kind of creep into the room. And then here comes Leah Vann, kind of strutting in, not too concerned about being late, and goes right into the front row. Like Rabs and Wilson kind of like snuck into like the second, third row on the side, kind of closest to the entrance. Leah just struts in, goes straight front and center on BK, sits right next to Shea Dixon. I mean, Shea right here, right to the left of Leah Vann.
I wish I could have seen his face.
Brian Kelly is like into the, he's almost like kind of like out of the opening monologue of his press conference. The way that the presser usually works is that Kelly comes in, gives his thoughts on the game, gives his thoughts on, kind of how they correct it and where they go from here, the week ahead, the game ahead versus Southern, some thoughts on it. Then he kind of opens it up for questions. Well, like he had gotten to the point where he was ready to open it up for questions. And when he did, he made a comment like, I'll open it up to questions to our late arriving media. And it was kind of like he was trying to like lighten the room up, right? And as Leah Vann kind of like turns to sit down, she makes a comment and says, maybe if you win, we'll be on time. And I'm telling you, the room, like the record just like stopped, and people were just like,
I bet the face.
I mean, like, say what?
I beg your pardon?
And Rab is like right here. Scott Rabelais is like right here. And my eyes just go directly to Rabelais like, oh my God. And you could see him just clench. I mean, he's like, oh my God.
In my 40 years.
And then like the LSU brass, Worsham crew, they're all like sitting there in the front. And you could tell they're like, what did she just say? You know what I mean? Like, what did she just say? And then you look up at Shea, and Shea is just trying to like run away, dude. I mean, he's like, oh my God, am I about to catch a stray on this? And you could tell BK was kind of like, oh, well, I don't think it had anything to do about winning the game. It just had to be on time. In fact, young lady, I'll see you after the press conference. He didn't say the last part, but it felt like he wanted to say
I'm
the last
he
part.
didn't get angrier.
No, I thought he handled himself great.
He did,
I
was scared.
I thought he handled the rim because I looked around and like even Bonnet was like,
Yeah, you had to be. No one's expecting that.
Whoa! Hey!
That's one of the things that you say it even after you say it, like, I might have fucked up. Like,
yeah, right.
Like that would slip.
And for the local beat writer, I mean, like, okay, all right, Leah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go ahead, get us out of the spotlight for a couple of days if you don't mind. Like, hey, Mike, that wasn't me, man. Like.
She was supposed to be on SEC Network today, but someone in the chat earlier said that they heard that they canceled that.
Oh, that's speculation. Let's not put that out there.
That she's not going to be on, or that she could.
Has anybody confirmed that? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to take somebody in the chat.
Last night it was. Yeah, I know. Last night it was announced she would be on SEC Network, but I can't remember who said that this morning. Someone did say that LSU told her not to go on or something.
Well, that's a legend. That's
just a legend.
We don't know that for sure. But I think that was, it was definitely a moment yesterday in the room that everybody was just kind of like, whoa. And, I think it came out after that Leah kind of explained it on Twitter, and she kind of made an apology about it. And I think she was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really do. Like, I mean, I know Leah to a certain degree. I mean, that's not her personality. You know what I mean? Like, she's not like me or Moscona. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, trying to like start controversy up there. I mean, she was just kind of, I think he was joking with her. She was kind of like joking back with him, but the joke just didn't hit. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody in the room was just kind of like, yeah, it was just very like, maybe if you win, you're like, whoa.
Hey. I mean, we're all thinking it.
Hey, yo, hey.
She didn't know it was going to go viral, I guess.
But it was.
But it did.
It was a moment. You know what I mean? And I think Brian Kelly handled it great. And, you know, I think afterwards, and there'll probably be like some life to this. You know what I mean? There'll probably be some moments down the line where you can point back to it between him and Kelly, her and Kelly, where, you know, they can laugh at it, you know.
Man, you hope. I don't know.
But it was, it was fun. Like the room, though, just being in the room, it was very like pin drop. You know what I mean?
Did anyone laugh?
No.
No one laughed at all?
No.
That's when you know you're in trouble. Like, oh,
that is exactly right.
It was that 3 second, just awkward, uncomfortable. Damn.
Oh my God.
Damn.
That was a fart in church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right.
Wrong crowd.
Yeesh. Nah, not gonna hit here.
Lots of opinions about Leah.
But it
today.
was, yeah. But look, Leah does a great job. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, she's good at her job, and you know, I mean, that by no means is anybody judging her on yesterday. It was funny. You know, I mean,
a lot of people seem to be.
Fans that don't know her,
right?
You know, I mean, that comes with the territory.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't think she gives a damn about that.
No.
I think, you know, I think she's, you know, more concerned about her relationship with LSU and that she has access to cover the program and that her peers respect her. And I can tell you from over here, we definitely do, and that it was a moment that I think we'll all kind of look back on and, you know, kind of giggle at.
Football God says I have big plans for this.
Yes, I'd imagine so. This is a very football gaudy thing that
Yes,
you can have, you know, a moment with.
It is.
Right?
No doubt.
So it was to be in that room yesterday that was an interesting start to it. Let me just say that. But other things that I thought Brian Kelly pointed at was, look, man, he didn't run from anything that was on display Sunday night, right? Like, I think he was very accountable to the fact of, look, everything's got to improve, everything's got to get better, from, you know, the communication on the sideline to the offense, the defense, the special teams. I think everything was pretty glaring for LSU in what they have to work on and improve on going into week 2. You know, I mean, you know, something that we talked about earlier this week, teams never going to stay the same, whether it's for good or bad, right? Or it's going to change and evolve throughout the season. And LSU can either look back at week 1 and say, wow, you covered a lot of ground over this year to get set up for, you know, what would be year 2 for Brian Kelly. Because I think the way that you're looking at the trajectory of the program under Kelly is that, look, when he came in, I still think that we have to realize how much of a turnover there was in LSU football. It's the biggest turnover that this program has seen in 20 years, over 20 years, since Nick Saban got here back in late 1999 going into 2000. Right? I mean, it was a personnel overhaul, not just the coaching staff, not just the roster, administrators, support staffers, people that had been in their jobs, whether it was answering phones, filing, or, you know, in the recruiting department for a long time. People that were comfortable in their gig were turned over and brought in with new personnel. All of those changes that LSU football has gone through over the last 8 months, it is still taking time to really kind of get itself comfortable in how it's going to exist moving into the future. And I'm not making any excuses for Brian Kelly. His job is to win games, and his job is to win games fast. There's not an excuse of, you know, what is going to be, but I think there has to be a realistic expectation and a real evaluation of what the program is and kind of where it's coming from. And, you know, when you've got guys on the offensive line playing for the first time like LSU does, when you have guys in the secondary that are all transferred in and playing for the first time, when you really get a chance to evaluate some guys that haven't played a lot of football, you know, for the first time, things are going to change. You know, things are going to evolve. And I think, you know, after seeing LSU in game 1 play as bad as they could have played for at least 3.5 quarters, for just the sake of the discussion. They played terrible, but I mean, they started to kind of get it right at the end of the game with some of the things on offense. But all in all, it was just a really bad performance for LSU. Yeah, I think they have and know how they can improve. Pretty simple fixes on special teams, to kind of get yourself right. I mean, you got to make the adjustments, but I mean, you would think to be able to protect PAT, extra point, catch punts is something that'll make you look better almost immediately.
Why did it take a football game for you to realize that those things weren't fixed?
That's a bigger question. I think Brian Kelly has to be asking behind closed doors and curious. I think everybody in a football structure is always being evaluated, right? I mean, I'm sure there's people in the business world going into something outside of football this morning where it's very similar to that, where you're always on the clock. You're always being evaluated. Whether you close a deal yesterday, you're going to be, expected to perform today. And if you don't, you'll be judged on that, right? I think football is a lot like that. I could care less what you did for me yesterday. What's going on presently? And he's got to look at some things, I think, internally and ask some real questions on. I think that, the special teams looked in such disarray. You got to be curious about, like, what's been going on there? How can you not have simple protections figured out and not be able to adjust that within a game and be able to execute that? What went into the evaluation of putting Malik Neighbors back there? It's a first-time guy that's ever done that. I think you've got options that if you're a little shaky in evaluating him in training camp, you should probably look at in a game one type atmosphere where you're playing in a dome, you're staring up into lights. It's the first time somebody's ever. All that stuff goes in to evaluating those types of decisions that ultimately, can make the game. Can really determine the outcome of the game. As Brian Kelly pointed out yesterday, the amount of missed tackles that LSU had, no excuse. They missed the tackles. They were in the right they were in the right spot. They just couldn't make the play. I think that goes into evaluating some of these guys and seeing them in game action for the first time. That's why I believe that from here on out, LSU should always have a week 0 game. Because if you're going to play these marquee matchups, and I'm not saying that this would have won the game for you against Florida State, but you would have at least known and had gotten out of the way hitting somebody for the first time in a while that's not in your uniform. And tackling has really, become lower of a priority on, the preparing process of your football team. You just don't hit. Practices are not as physical. So when you get out there and you're in live game action for the first time, I believe it has an impact on you. That's the first time we've done this in, a long time. At full speed, full go. There was routinely practices at LSU that we would be able to witness where it was game-like situations. They were playing full games and scrimmages where even the quarterback was live on some Saturday mornings. Now that's just not the way of football. Nobody's hitting like that anymore. Nobody's, really going through that. In fact, go to Hard Knocks. Dan Campbell's crying to his team in the middle of the practice field, trying to get them to believe and buy in that we should be hitting like this. The data says that to stay effective and be a good tackling team, you got to practice tackling early in training camp. And he's almost having to sell to his guys that football's changed. You guys are coming from programs or coming from places where you may not have tackled, you may not have hit, you may not have practiced this. You got to do that to be effective at it. And, what was the number yesterday that Kelly put out? They missed 16 tackles.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On Travis. That's why I'm telling you, for the most part, LSU did beat Florida State at the point of attack. Not all night, but they were making Travis move and getting him off of his spot. Kid just made plays. Really, at some point, you just got to credit Travis and say, man, hey, nice work. That's a good play. You made a play where it looked like the defense had you defended. And, that's really kind of how
Looked like Bo Nix last year.
Sunday felt. It was very Bo Nix performance.
Because that's the best game he's ever played in his life. And both of them have come against LSU. So it makes you wonder, is it him actually getting better, or is it just something that's going to continually happen with LSU?
Well, that's why you got to play week 2.
Yeah.
That's why you got to keep playing this thing. And so, it was it was, they couldn't get off the field. They were putting him in third down situations, and they couldn't get off the field. Travis's number on third downs was the story of the night. His efficiency and ability to take care of Florida State's offense on third down and keep the drives alive and move the chains was the difference in the game for LSU's defense. So,
16 missed tackles.
that'll get you beat every time.
And how much do you think Foucha would have been out there had he been, I guess, eligible?
A lot.
Yeah.
I definitely think he wowould have played from a sense. I don't know how much of a difference that would have made, but you definitely would have had another option back there. Joe Foucha was, another guy who came up yesterday, and Brian Kelly just said he was confident that he will get him back, and he kind of gave like a, almost like a sarcastic like, here we go, I hope I can get him back at some point. But I think that, Foucha's facing a 4-game suspension from some things in academics that happened during his transfer at Arkansas into Louisiana, into LSU. And, he had to take something like 30 hours this summer to get academically right.
Can you imagine?
It was
no chance.
It was something crazy.
Just suspend me.
I'll
just take the 4 games.
That would be awful.
It was something crazy.
Go to jail. And Brian Kelly has to be like, I thought this is why I came to LSU. What's up? I thought the academics.
I think that was that had to be
stringent.
That had to be explained to him early on in the process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because LSU has habitually dealt with this stuff. They've dealt with this stuff for as long as I can remember. Whether it be drug testing, academic stuff, it's always snuck up and got LSU. So he had to be at least briefed on what the compliance department was going to be like.
I thought compliance was kind of turned over a leaf here. I thought we were getting some of those people out that enforce these decisions, and now because you don't see this happen anywhere else.
I know, that is really strange, right? It seems like it's only LSU transfers.
Yeah, it's
or
crazy.
people transferring into LSU.
And some
Why?
would some would tell you that they are making strides. As crazy as it is. It was commie Russia for a while.
Absolutely.
It was almost like the compliance department was going against
the football team,
or just the athletics.
Just athletics in general.
It was almost like they were not in trying to create an environment where you could win. It was almost like they threw Tyrann Mathieu off the team.
But when did they realize this about Joe Foucha?
They knew early.
Okay.
They knew in the summer. I just think like Brian Kelly said, there's certain laws against coming out, a lot like HIPAA with medical.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Buckley Act,
okay,
where from an academic standpoint, your coach can't just sit up there and be like, Joe Foucha's nearly failed out.
Okay, so
and we've
they
had
knew
to work to get him eligible.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, they've been well aware. They know. They just don't have to tell it to anybody.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I know Foucha he's in an appeal, and look, he lost his grandmother and he lost his one of his best. It's a sad story. Yeah, it's a sad story, man. But hopefully he can get some good news just over the summer.
Oh.
While he was kind of dealing with the academic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was going through a lot of personal stuff too.
It's too bad.
But I actually saw him yesterday in the parking lot as I was leaving Kelly's press conference, and he kind of told me a little bit about it and said he can't wait to tell his story. And he said when he's ready, he's going to come sit down on the podcast and just kind of catch everybody up. So he's a great dude too. Mm-hmm. He's a real good dude, man. You could tell. He is. He's in it. He wants to be playing for LSU. Reminds me a lot of like John Emery. He's just they're just kind of waiting on their time here, man, to get going. And one thing in the running backs as well. I know the running backs didn't get a lot of opportunities on Sunday as far as rushing the ball, but Noah Cain, Josh Williams, and Armani Goodwin, I was told really graded out at a high level from pass protection. really from
somebody had to.
Yeah, from that really did their job in that part of the game. So look, there's silver linings that you can kind of take away from Sunday night. Not a lot, but there's some things that LSU can grow on and hopefully get better at and turn some of this news that they've been going through over the last 72 hours into some positive and into some wins over the next couple of weeks. They'll be tested, with Mississippi State next weekend and Auburn at the end of the month. This is going to be a very, they got to get it right quick. There's not a lot of time to wallow in just kind of what's going on. I mean, you got to figure this stuff out and kind of pick it up and move on. And hopefully LSU can take what they learned on Sunday night and turn that into a positive tool with them. Josh Pate covers college football as good as anybody out there. We always love catching up with Josh Pate and what he's talking about. We're going to get a update from Pate here next when we get in touch with him about college football weekend. Last weekend, we'll ask him about some of the marquee games coming up this weekend, like Alabama traveling in to take on Texas in Austin, what he thinks about that game. Tennessee and Pittsburgh is going to be a phenomenal matchup coming up on Saturday. Kentucky, Florida is going to be a good one that we'll talk about with Pate. And we're going to also get his thoughts on LSU, Brian Kelly, and after week one, what his evaluation is of the Tigers moving forward. All of that coming up next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure you remember our friends over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works is number one and a number two business. You can get in touch with them very easily by dialing this phone number, 225-776-2431, 225-776-2431. Every day they got 2 trucks covering Baton Rouge, from Baton Rouge to the Gulf Coast. If you need some help on this side of the river, get in touch with them by calling this morning, 225-776-2431. Mention the Jordy Culotta Show and save yourself 15% over there on the bottom line. They have experienced carpenters and plumbers on staff, which means they can help you with any of your remodel work, whether it's industrial, residential, commercial. Help them. They can help you out today. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, number one and the number two business. Call them today, 225-776-2431. Mention the show and save yourself 15%. We'll come back, talk more college football with Josh Pate of the great Late Kick, the Late Kick with Josh Pate on YouTube. That's every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. We'll also you can also follow him on Twitter at Late Kick Josh. Next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshon, Boutte,
Malik Neighbors,
Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
Best athlete to come out of New Iberia, Mark Roman?
Kayshon Boutte.
Kayshon? Wow.
Right now, Kayshon, and Mark was a little bit before me. I was a ball boy when Mark was playing at New Iberia Senior High School. I played like right after Mark, but just has done some things, and just the things that you guys are seeing Kayshon do, that he's not even scratching the surface of what we saw on a day-to-day basis at practice. And he's unreal. He's unreal.
He's so natural. It's so so easy. It looks so easy to him.
Yes, it's so easy, and there's never been another a competitor I've ever seen like Kayshon. Kayshon would not lose going to eat pregame meal. He has to be the first. He is the ultimate competitor. He would not lose. So trust me, he will be ready.
We love the crew over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew dropping off the meals every Monday here to FM Digital Media, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Me or the crew's going through our meals over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Their weekly pre-order, freshly made meals, or you can walk into the cooler over there on Airline Highway. They have that fresh, same service over there at Fresh Chef Eats. FreshChefEats.com is where you can find them online. Fresh Chef Kitchen. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here we go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, one of our favorites on Twitter to follow and keep up with during college football season. Always catch up with his show is Josh Pate. He is the host of Late Kick Live, which you can catch 3 days a week on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central Time on YouTube. A great follow, a great listen. If you're looking to get caught up with everything college football, it's the only spot that you should start your week off. Josh, how are we doing this morning here on this Wednesday after a very busy opening weekend of college football, buddy?
Well, I'm doing okay. That's not the question, Jordy. The question is, how are you guys doing?
We're doing okay, considering. We have really pissed off the Florida State faithful. They are doing great for our numbers on Twitter and on social media. But other than that, I saw some things on Sunday night that was very alarming, Josh, but I also saw some things that are very fixable for LSU. And I think that, here in year one, the expectation is not as high as it has been in Baton Rouge in other years. And I think that, people want to see it get done correctly. It was a bad start for BK, but I still think that he's the right guy at the right time for LSU. How about you? Well, what did you take away from it on Sunday?
Well, there was a time about a month and a half ago. I think I was actually on your show. We talked about this, and I talked about it anytime I did preview content for LSU. A lot of us get caught up in talent. In some ways, I think it's become one of the more overrated talking points in our business and the media business is talent. This team's more talented. That means nothing if you don't have the team aspect down. And it's really, really hard to have that down and have a culture overturned 1 week into your new tenure, especially when you came in with the express intent to overturn a culture. So anytime we were talking about LSU over the summer, I spoke about how things will be fine with that program. They'll appear to be fine with the team as long as they're winning. There obviously will come bumps in the road. And when those bumps happen, my guess, which is kind of playing out already, is you would find out there were still some holdover pieces, some residue, if you will, from the Ed Orgeron era that was still present in the program, maybe even in the locker room.
I agree with that.
It's just inevitable. You cannot overturn an entire 85-man roster over the span of a 3 or 4 month period. So what you were going to find out, and I think what we're finding out now, is there are still some guys in that locker room that ultimately don't serve the long-term best interests of this program. This is not the first time this has happened. It's just the latest time that it's happened. And so they're going to take some lumps this year. They may get some wins that you don't expect them to this year. But ultimately, I just encourage people to remember, you have to go through this. You don't look, the world does not let you get the program driven into the ground like it was last year and then just hit the reset button and get off scot-free and win 10 games. That's not the way that works. So you're going to have a certain flushing period. And there are some really talented players on LSU's roster that probably won't be here next year because their talent doesn't overcome the fact that from the neck up, they're not made of what Brian Kelly needs them to be made of.
Anything you see on Sunday night that leaves signs of positive, how they can compete immediately this season?
Well, there are things that are correctable, certainly. I mean, those special teams issues are correctable. Mm-hmm. Tackling issues are correctable. I have confidence that they have better offensive line play in them than we saw Sunday night. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I had one of my buddies who, ironically, is an LSU fan, listen to me talk about this yesterday, and he hit me up and said, stop making excuses for us. I'm not making excuses, man.
No.
You shouldn't have lost the game, and you did lose the game. What I'm talking about are 50,000-foot issues that were going to crop up now that you did lose the game. But, yeah, I think if you were to look at the next few weeks, Jordy, you got Southern this week. You may take an L at halftime, but I think the overall game could be a win. Yeah. I think the Mississippi State game was always a very underrated matchup because that's going to uniquely test their secondary and their tackling ability again. But the Auburn game, these are not games that should ever be chalked up as anywhere close to an L. These should be games quite the opposite, that LSU is plenty enough capable of winning if you clean up those issues. And, you know, let's be real now. Some of those issues I just listed were not so much due to Florida State as they were due to Louisiana State. So, yeah, I still think there's plenty enough of a path to a good season.
What do you think of Florida State's performance?
The way I equated it, I have to drive a lot to and from Columbus, Georgia, from Nashville. So that's about a 5-hour drive. So a lot of times when I'm driving back home, the way that you start to feel like you're getting close to Nashville is when you start seeing the Nashville mileage signs. Yeah. 187 miles, 137 miles left. And for Florida State for so long, they haven't even seen those signs. They haven't even known how close they are to success and having things back on track. And finally, I think that Sunday night game, while it does not mean that Florida State is back, I think it is finally a sign where they can look at it and say, wait a second, we wouldn't have won this game. We wouldn't have been competitive in this game last couple of years. And now, not only were we competitive, we won it. We didn't get dominated on the line of scrimmage. That LSU receiving corps did not flood us like some people suggested they would. So maybe, just maybe, even though we're not there, we're getting closer. And the thing about Norvell at Florida State is I don't think they've ever taken a step back a day during his tenure. They just haven't taken leaps and bounds forward. They've inched their way forward. They've kept on getting a little bit better. And maybe, this is a one-game sample size, I get all that. Maybe that thing's starting to slope or starting to scale just a little bit more. Because one thing we can't deny is Jordan Travis looks like a much better quarterback than he has been. And I think athletically, they look as good as they have under him. They had to go to the portal so hard, so early when he got there, that only just now are you finally starting to put together, I guess, a sustainable roster model. And so I would be excited, but cautiously excited if I were them.
Tell me what you thought of Georgia's performance in weekend one.
Yeah, that was an example of what you get when you got an elite team that puts its full focus on an inferior opponent. And pretty much everyone's going to be inferior aside from a couple of programs relative to them. I also, it was a splattering, man. It was really, really ugly. There was never a competitive second in the game. But I also think if you listen to some of the criticism of Georgia in recruiting, it's at the wide receiver position. And people tell receivers, don't go there. You won't get utilized for good reason. There haven't been receivers that have put up big numbers there under Kirby Smart. Jermaine Burton just left Georgia and immediately shining at Alabama. So they're aware of that. And I took some flack from folks in my home state the other day when I made this point. But I'm right. And their anger is when I compare this team to Alabama. It should be a compliment because it's about the only comparable data point that exists for Georgia now is how do you measure up to Alabama? Well, one of the things that I think Kirby Smart realized in that national championship game is this team just beat us in the SEC title game with players like Jamison Williams and John Mechie. They don't have them anymore. We were able to beat them for a national title, but long term, if I'm Kirby Smart, still think the way to maximize my program is to have those kinds of pieces and to use them. So I got to recruit them, I got to use them. And I think what they did is they used that Oregon game, a game they knew they could win any way they wanted, as it turns out. They could probably triple option their way to a 5-touchdown win. And I think he said, let's open it up. Because, Jordy, they won 49-3, and their leading rusher had under 50 yards. So they just threw the ball all over the place and did it with Stetson Bennett, no less. and said, I think, to the rest of the world, this is also a way that we're going to go about things in the future. And I think it was as big a recruiting tool as it was a football game.
And his comments after the game, I mean, as soon as he sat at the podium, he said, how can you not look at that offense and want to play in it? I mean, it was like talking to recruits. You could tell that he was really trying to recruit his offense here in game one, defending the national championship. Billy Napier goes from unranked to number 12 in the country after beating Utah on opening weekend. How big was that for him, and what did you make of that performance by the Gators?
Well, it's big now. Sometimes you almost want to overstate the obvious or overlook the obvious. It's a very, very big win. And I think that if you go back to the game we were just talking about, Dan Lanning and his first-year staff, they looked totally outclassed and overwhelmed by Kirby Smart and his staff, which they were. And it's a relief to me, if I'm a Florida fan, that I'm not saying that. Now, Napier's not a first-year head coach. It's his first go-around at the Power 5 level. But when you face a staff as veteran and as tenured as Kyle Whittingham in Utah, you run the risk, with that being your first game, of looking like that. And not only did Florida not look like that, Florida, I thought, matched up very well with them. I'm talking about just procedurally, game day, etc. The other part to that is, I think, your biggest hopes, not your biggest fears, but your biggest hopes were validated about what you as a Florida fan may think you have with Anthony Richardson. And he's the kind of guy, we only see him a handful of times over maybe a decade's period, but he's the kind of quarterback, he's the kind of guy that can make a coaching staff look so smart. Napier afterwards said, man, my wife could call plays with 15 back there. It's really not play calling, guys. It's just when the ball's snapped, no matter if what we've diagrammed breaks down, he can still make the play. Is that us or is that him? Well, it's him. And he has the ability to turn games. The only thing I'll be concerned about with them is, this weekend is a good test study, because Kentucky, if they want to, can commit hats to the box and limit their run game. And at that point, if Anthony Richardson is put in a position to have to win a game with his arm, he can do it. This is not a guy who doesn't possess the ability to throw, but if he's put in that position with the game on the line, I wonder how they'll execute that. And also the other thing is, right now they're fully healthy. The biggest concern with Florida has been and will be overall long-term depth for this year. And if they start having to go into that depth a little bit, those will be the things to watch for Florida, but certainly a positive sign week one.
You mentioned a little bit of that Kentucky game this weekend, and you went a little into it. How do you like that game? Is this a letdown spot for Florida?
Historically, yeah. I think you would label it that. The thing I'm always most cautious with, I think most of us who have watched this game a long time, you remember seeing a quarterback arrive. And that was Anthony Richardson's arrival moment the other day. And a lot of times, guys are handled differently. They're wired differently. So it's a case-to-case basis how it's handled. But, I mean, how many times have we seen a quarterback get the accolades that week? And I'm not saying he lets down the next week. It's the opposite. I'm saying he comes into that thing so hyped. For some reason, his balls just sail a few inches higher, and the decision-making is just a tick off. And all of a sudden, it looks like someone threw a crowbar in the bicycle spokes, and you're saying, where's that guy we saw last week? That's the first thing to think about. The reason why I still lean Florida in the game is Chris Rodriguez is presumably out, the running back for Kentucky still. They did not run the ball worth anything against Miami of Ohio last week. Their offensive line did not handle that at all. And I think about taking that unit and walking them down into Gainesville. It's another night game. I expect the same kind of environment, if not greater, because it's a division game. And we're going to probably have to put the thing on Will Levis. So if those mock drafts were right in the summer, and that's a first-round quarterback, brother, he's going to have to prove it Saturday night. And, again, this is only week 2, so that Florida team's still healthy. You're not getting them banged up in November. That's a tall task. I know the line's only 4.5. That's a tall task for Kentucky, so I lean Florida.
Is 20 enough in Austin as Alabama favored by 3 scores over Texas Saturday morning? How do you like that game?
Oh, boy. So I don't think the outcome is going to be Georgia-Oregon. I don't think that. I think there is a principle of Georgia and Oregon in play here. Sometimes when I'm talking about those two programs, and occasionally Ohio State and occasionally Clemson, I will use a metaphor called the freeze point. And that's essentially, if you take water, it doesn't matter if it's 33 degrees for 10 years. It won't freeze. It's got to be 32.4 or lower. You got to meet the freeze point, and then it'll start to freeze. Now, if it's 0, it'll freeze quicker, but it's got to meet a certain point. When you get those teams full focus, and Texas will have Alabama's full focus Saturday, there is a minimum baseline freeze point you have to meet as a quality of team to have a chance. I don't think Texas meets that. And the thing about it is, if you don't meet it, as we've seen in the past, there is no point spread big enough. Because if you get their full focus, if you get an A- or better level of play, it can get so violently ugly so quick, like it did for Oregon Saturday. And Jordy, I think unless Bama suffers those same issues on the road that they did last year, I think we may see one of those kinds of games Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pittsburgh, Tennessee, sneaky best game of the day?
I think that one could be. I think Brigham Young Baylor also sneakily could be. I look at Tennessee and I think to myself, if I were a Tennessee fan, I would feel confident in my run defense. I would feel like I can stop Pitt's run. And Pitt ran it for under 2 yards per carry against West Virginia. So this is not a team that can pound away, or at least it doesn't look like it early. So basically, if I'm a Tennessee fan, there are 2 ways we lose this game. Either we give it away, kind of like West Virginia did to Pitt in week 1, or Keaton Slovis beats us through the air and they just outscore us. I don't think, if I'm a Tennessee fan, or if I'm just me, I don't think they can just flat out outscore Tennessee. So there's a fine balance of being aggressive, going in there and being aggressive, but also knowing your aggressiveness, if it goes sideways, is probably Pitt's best chance of winning that game. I lean Tennessee. Our numbers have it by about 7. I think that's where the line is right now. So I think the line's pretty dead on. I just think for an out-of-conference early season game, it feels so huge, such a validation point for each program. Tennessee, whether they've arrived or not, Pitt, whether they're going to be a contender in the East or the ACC, and they're the same kind of team they were last year. I'm really excited about that one. I think you're right. I mean, I think there's very little chance you're not glued to that one in the fourth quarter.
What'd you make of Arkansas's performance outlasting Cincinnati at home?
Well, that's the one I went to last week, and I thought it was a very mixed bag. They're banged up at corner right now, and I think they're, they don't have breathing room. They don't have a Western Carolina anywhere on that schedule until way, way later in the year. So they're just going to have to lick their wounds and move really quickly. I think what they wanted to do probably is throw the ball a little bit more early on. And since he had an opening drive, it was hot that day, it's middle of the afternoon, and since he had an opening drive that I think that Arkansas staff got kind of worried about. They were kind of worried that they were going to get to the half, and since he was going to have a 45-21 plays run advantage, and Arkansas was going to have the factors tilt against them in the second half, so they kind of went into more of a shell mode and started to run the ball. They ran the ball okay. Since he had a ton of overthrows in that game, that there were a number of ways that thing could have gone the other way. To me, when you can show up against quality competition and play your C-plus game or a B- game and win, those are clunkers to me. I would just call those clunkers. And I would say if you can win your clunkers, that is one of the surest signs in this sport that you're elevating. It's not how you play when everything's on, because most teams with quality talent can win when everything clicks. When it doesn't click and you somehow, some way find a way to get the dub, that is actually where you're elevating. So I feel good about Arkansas.
Anything else stand out to you this weekend from a performance standpoint? Jackson Dart, a little underwhelming for Ole Miss. What'd you make of Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin's start to the season?
That's the one.
Yeah.
I talked to someone on the Troy coaching staff, and they lost, but, they hit me up because they watched the show, and they said, hey, I know you talked a lot about Altmaier and Dart, and we think it's Altmaier. That's what their staff said. We think it's Altmaier. Oh, wow. And Lane Kiffin kind of confirmed, that's how the starting rotation is going to work this next game. I just think that a lot of assumptions were made when Jackson Dart came in there. And the thing about it is, Jordy, they had an open scrimmage early in fall camp. And Jackson Dart had probably the best day he's ever had on campus there. And I think it really turned the conversation sideways about what the reality of that quarterback situation was. The reality was no one ever had a stranglehold on it. And now games get here. And fortunately for Ole Miss, they've got several layups early in the season to figure this out. But I think, and have thought for a while, it's ultimately going to be Altmaier.
Speaking of quarterback controversies, what's your take on the Clemson quarterback room?
last night on our show, I did something I've never done before, and I recited lyrics from a Tanya Tucker song because it perfectly describes the Clemson quarterback situation right now. Her lyrics from that song, if it don't come easy, you need to let it go, because if it don't come easy, there's no natural flow. That was the difference in watching those two quarterbacks. DJ Uiagalelei has done everything they've asked him to do. He's a great kid. This is what's going to make that decision very hard, by the way. And yet it feels like you're laboring so much when he's in there. Mm-hmm. And then they bring Klubnik in. And all of us who have ever watched a quarterback battle, you know what it's like when a guy's in there and for some reason it just feels easy. It feels natural. It feels like it flows so much more. And you may not even be able to mark it out on film yourself. You probably couldn't break it down on a projector. You just know because it feels different.
It's like
That's
porn. You know it when you see it.
There you go. There you go. Kate Klubnik is our TVMA special this week. And so they got Furman and La Tech coming up, but I think ultimately, yeah. And I don't even think Clemson fans argue this at that point, or at this point. I think he's going to end up being the guy.
I agree. Josh Pate, if you are not following him on Twitter, you are not a college football fan. If you love college football, you got to be following our guy at Late Kick Josh and keep up with the content on YouTube. Subscribe there at the Late Kick with Josh Pate site. He is live Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Great content as usual. It's great catching up. We'll talk soon, man.
A pleasure as always, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, there he is. Josh Pate checking in this morning from the road. And that conversation brought to you by our friends over at Edward Jones. Shout out to Daniel Newman, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Easy to email in to get some financial advice from our guy out in central Louisiana. He's located right across from Stab's Restaurant. Stop in there. See if he can't help you out today with a couple of questions that you may have with your finances, whether it is looking for direction on your 401k, investment strategy, whatever it may be. Get in touch with Daniel Newman. He's the best. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. We'll be back. Brody Miller going to join us at the top of the hour. And we will also have Jacques Doucet in studio with us at 8:30. We have your mailbag questions.
Was he late yesterday?
You got your voicemail? No. The Advocate crew. Rabelais probably did not sleep last night.
That is...
That'll keep a guy like Rabelais up.
Right, that's... Oh, the neuroses.
Yes.
Just the panic. It's
and Rabelais, if you don't know this, a intense hotel critic.
Ooh, we would get along very well.
what's are his
but
criteria?
not to the people. He doesn't complain like to people when he gets there, does he?
Oh no, he'll move rooms.
Oh no, okay,
yes.
No, never mind.
In fact, at the SEC Media Day trip,
What's
back
the
when
difference gonna be?
Dellinger
They're all the same room.
Back when Dellinger was covering
Hey,
LSU with the Advocate, him and Rabelais stayed together at SEC Media Day or on the Advocate, kind of cart, and Rabelais moved rooms 3 times. Moved a hotel.
No.
Moved a hotel on curtains.
That's what I'm saying.
Thought he saw mold.
So he sends everything back
Thought
to
he
the
saw
restaurant
mold.
too.
Yes.
And gets his food spit in repeatedly.
How about that? So you think showing up late for Brian Kelly's second press conference stressed him out?
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Bro, it was.
Is he a cutter? Is he an emotional cutter?
You could see just like that he was like sweating.
I bet.
You know what I mean? Like, and then Leah Van hits him with a, maybe if you win, we'll be on time comment.
Yeah, he was already sweating.
Rabs is wanting to crawl out of his skin.
We're 3 minutes. Like they got there at 11:57. It's not quite late, but you're kind of like.
I want to see your concierge now. We are coming back with the second hour here of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
3 times to change rooms is absurd.
That is.
Left the hotel.
I mean, that's the better move. What's going to change about these rooms? It's the same place. Like you can't do anything about it. Unbelievable. Copper's here.
I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O-Shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP. And Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at JordyCulottashow.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Rolloffs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Rolloffs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the Capital Region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out. southerneyecenters.com and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway.
That conversation with Josh Pate brought to you by SNL Pest Control Services. We are flea-free. Thanks.
What up, Sheldon?
Thanks to Sheldon. I was like, who was that? Thanks, Sheldon. It's family owned and operated. Husband
Sheldon,
and wife owned and operated. They have excellent customer service. They'll come every day if you have fleas. They have many years of experience in residential, commercial, and industrial. They're very quick. They're very dedicated. They do termites, spiders, roaches, ants, hornets, and small rodents.
I love my guy, Sheldon.
Call them at 225-262-0496 SNL Pest Services. They service the entire Baton Rouge area.
Brody just hit me with an LOL. I'm here. You're just talking about it.
Brody needs pest control.
But I love my guy Sheldon at
He's
SNL
awesome.
Pest Control. First off, he's an early guy. He's a morning
He
guy
is.
like I am. And
He
the
is.
first morning I realized that, I was getting on my bike around like 4:50 in the morning, and we live on we don't live. We our office is on a one-way street, and I mean this truck came ripping off of government down this one way about 4:50 in the morning, like he was running from the cops. Like, I mean, like I thought that there was like a high pursuit chase going on. And I'm like ducking under the car to like make sure I don't get like catch a stray in Baton Rouge, like 4:50 in the morning. And then like this truck comes like whipping into the parking lot. I'm like, oh shit, I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like,
for me.
I'm about to die. And Shelton like, morning, buddy, how we doing? I'm like,
Hey.
Jesus Christ, Shelton.
About to murder some bugs.
Jesus, man.
These folks have no idea I'm here.
But SNL, Pest Control, morning people.
We are flea-free.
Brody Miller, our guy, has been listening the whole time. As we've had
Sorry,
him in queue
Brody.
here.
Oh, wow, I forgot what we were
Yes.
talking about.
Is Brody there? Well, it's like, no, we're still waiting on him. He hits me with a text. I'm here. LOL.
Do you want to
It's
do
been entertaining as anything.
It
I'm
should
happy
be.
as hell. Yeah.
Brody,
There's a different ad read you
both
wanted
you
to
and
do.
I have good working relationships with Leah Van. We respect her work very much. What was your reaction yesterday when she hit BK with, maybe if you win, we'll be on time next?
Come on. Yeah, I mean, I think she was clearly just kind of like trying to banter back because he was
I
bantering
agree.
with her.
I agree.
I mean, she has very openly spoken things saying like, hey, I feel like I made a mistake and I'm sorry. So like, yeah, it wasn't her.
Am I going to get in trouble?
And I absolutely respect the way she's kind of handled that after it because, yeah, it probably wasn't her best moment. But at the same time, like, he was just trying to be funny. She was trying to be funny back. She apologized after, and he was like, yeah, and he joked back with her. Like, it's not that big a thing. It's almost more been frustrating. Not frustrating, but like watching the overall Twitter reaction last night. And it's like 90% people thinking like Brian Kelly was dead serious, like mad that people walked into his presser late and like actually finding them. And it's like, guys, this was all pretty just like actually kind of funny, so it is what it is.
Credit BK for the sense of humor on a Tuesday after a loss, right?
Absolutely, yeah. No, he. I feel like even in the moments after Sunday's loss, I think it's probably some of that's a factor of you've coached as many games as he has. Like, you have just seen it all, and you are thinking big picture at all times. But like, he wasn't livid. He was pretty open. Like here's what happened, guys. Like, hey, yeah, this is bad. This could be better, and all that. And I think you saw that in that literal moment as well. That he was just like, he could take the joke. He's like, nah, it's not about losing. It's about being on time, So, yeah, credit to BK with how he handled that as well.
Brody, your article on Sunday evening after the game really urged me to go back and watch the TV copy. I was in the stadium for 3.5 quarters, made the trek back in the fourth quarter, watched the YouTube kind of, condensed reel on Monday morning before we went on air. And then after reading your article before Monday's show, I wanted to go back and just kind of see what Brian Kelly's demeanor was. And I got to be honest, watching that halftime interview, I was shocked in just the guy that we had covered, the guy going into the game, and then the guy within the game on how he was speaking. What did you think of just the way that he handled his first game on the sideline at LSU? What did you make of Sunday night?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a tough one. Like, I'd say I think my overall reaction is that he's just kind of matter of fact about it, probably is the best way to put it. Like, I don't think he's sitting there just unbelievably emotional and livid. And I think that goes back to what we said earlier. Like, he's been through it all. So, like, one, nothing's new. But two, like, he is probably, and this is going to sound like I'm making him sound brilliant or something, but, like, no, it's just his style. Like, probably more thinking the big picture than he is about, like, this literal loss and like how like things like that. So yeah, I think it was kind of matter of fact of just like, at halftime, like you said, just joking. Yeah, can't play worse. Like, just truth of what it is. Like, I don't think he's not like he's not worried about the like preservation part, at least at this phase in the process, because I don't think it really matters. Like, he understood year one was going to be a mess. He understood he's probably here for the long haul. That's been my personal read on just kind of the past 4 days is like, he's just not stressed about that. But yeah, it's just kind of matter of fact. Like, hey, here's what we're bad at. Here's what we're good at. He's like the first one to say, hey, like, I think I'm actually pretty happy with how they fought. It's not all the end of the world. Jayden Daniels is pretty good, but also, hey, special teams was a disaster, and that's on us.
What did Sunday night do for your expectation of the 2022 edition of LSU football?
Ooh, so it's like I'm in this weird spot of there's no world where I expect them to be as messy as they were. I thought, not that I expected them to come out amazing, but I just thought that's kind of the stuff that might get minimized under Brian Kelly. So I think it reminds you that this rebuild's going to take a little longer, or as long as we expected, but still, it's just a reminder. This isn't going to be a quick fix. But in terms of this year, I'm in this weird spot of I always, and you and I both always talked about, we thought they'd be volatile. We thought they'd lose some games they shouldn't and win them some games they shouldn't. Yeah. And as I rewatch and all of that, this kind of game is baked into that to some extent, right? Like, this is the kind of game that's like, man, they're going to lose some they shouldn't. And when I rewatch, there's some stuff I wasn't as down on as in the moment. In the moment, it felt like an utter disaster. And you look back and it's more like, hey, there's these 3 pinpointable things that were a mess. And a lot of other stuff wasn't as bad as I felt in the moment. O-line was bad, but I actually felt pretty good about the interior O-line. I think Will Campbell fought better than I thought he did in the moment. And by the way, I wouldn't be hard on Will Campbell anyway. Yeah. And Cam Wire was really the one who just had in the tight ends and the run backs pass protection. It was mainly those guys that had the really bad night. The rest wasn't that bad. Where I thought corner would be a disaster. Corners played pretty well. You lose Mason Smith. You can't replace that, but the D tackles played pretty well. And mainly, Jayden Daniels actually, in my opinion, played a pretty good football game in the circumstances. So I don't think this team is going to win 9 games or anything, but I still sit in that like 7.5 zone of I still think they can go beat Auburn. I still think they can go beat Mississippi State. So long answer. I don't think it changes my prediction, but it's still like, hey, you got to fix a lot of stuff.
What'd you make of Jayden Daniels' performance?
Yeah, he has limitations, right? You just have to you have to know going in. He is not going to be the guy probably hitting those one-on-one passes in a tight spot and coverage, Yeah, and you saw that on some of his downfield attempts. I don't think he's going to be perfect. But when you rewatch that, as we both have, I felt like he was making the most of most situations. Yeah. That first half, he was the first to tell you in the first half he didn't play great, but he was also the only one keeping the offense alive. It was the just constant pressure, making plays happen. And as much as, like, there's this tendency people have, I think, to focus on what's not right instead of like accepting what the good is. So it's like, if you're not a perfect passer, that's the focus, but not forgetting that the running stuff is neutralizing that a little bit. And like, he was making the offense happen a lot. And also I felt like he was a bad passer in the first half, and I rewatched, and it's like, he wasn't really missing throws or anything like that. He just took off too early, and he'd tell you that. He acknowledged he wasn't reading those fronts well, and he had to adjust. And in that second half, when they changed some blocking things and he read the fronts better and they were higher tempo, all that stuff, he looked really, really sharp. He was hitting those quick routes. He was 26 of 35 on the game and making those special runs. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm giving him an A and then everyone who's frustrated should be, like scoffed at. Because, yeah, he made mistakes. He wasn't perfect. He has limits. But I thought he was one of the best players on the field in a lot of ways. And I do understand them sticking with him as QB1.
What'd you make of BK's comments about Kayshon yesterday in the conversation they had, and what do you expect from LSU's star wide receiver?
Yeah, I'm curious what you think, but I thought he put it pretty well, in a way of like, and I think he put it even better Sunday to an extent of like, yeah, Kayshon needs to learn how to let the game come to him. He needs to he needs to work on, not getting angry because you're trying to do too much and things like that. That is a fair criticism. Kayshon Boutte should have handled that better. And then yesterday, like you said, he did a good job of saying, like, it's not like he's throwing a fit that he's trying to leave the team or anything like that. I talked to Kayshon's family after the game and whatnot. They're like, none of this is like, I'm mad at LSU, at least from what I understand. I could be totally wrong. But it's more just like, I'm really mad about the situation and then the negative feedback and all that. They're just like, I'm going radio silent, getting off social media and all that. And so I don't think Kayshon Boutte is like in this dramatic situation. But there is a situation of, everyone involved needs to figure out the best way to get the most out of this.
Yeah. This is going to be a cool weekend for Baton Rouge, right? I mean, this is going to be something that I don't think that LSU, the city, has never seen. And I thought Brian Kelly pointed something out yesterday that I hadn't really thought of. I mean, outside of UCLA, USC, I can't think of another host city that can play a college football game up to this type of level and have the school. I mean, the football stadiums are literally 10 miles apart from one another. This will be cool.
Yeah. No, it's just I can't wait. It's I have a story that unfortunately won't be done this week, but in the future. But you go back to the 2003. There was a joint parade when both schools won the national title, and there's a cool history involved and some other stuff with that. But I think this is cool because it's like these rare moments where these kind of two very different cultures that unfortunately feel like they're on just opposite ends of the world just because of how they're covered and things like that aren't fair, to kind of come together, have this moment. And of course, I would be remiss for not mentioning also the bands coming together, and that's going to be such a cool thing. So yeah, it's a very cool moment.
Absolutely. Special teams. What do you think that conversation was like between Kelly and Polian? And these are pretty fixable issues, right? I mean, this should be remedied pretty quick.
Yes and no to an extent, right? Like, yeah. Like, they're not going to have 2 drop fumbles ever again, right? You would assume. You're probably not going to have 2 block extra points again. You would assume. A lot of this stuff was really messy, and probably just going forward will be completely fine. The only other X factor, though, is like there is a reason they didn't have much choice but to, be playing a freshman tight end and a true freshman guard on those extra point units because they didn't have any other tight end bodies to use. People are banged up and whatnot. And I'm sorry if I'm cutting out here. They don't have, a lot of options line to throw out there. So there is a little bit of like, this is where you see some of those roster management stuff come up. But yeah, no, most of this stuff will be completely fine, which is part of why I'm not that low on them going forward, because it's like they win that game without most of those errors, right? So that stuff gets fixed. So yeah, I'm with you overall. It should be okay.
Subscribe today. Get the subscription over at The Athletic. You get inside information, and Brody Miller, who's going to cover LSU as good as anyone, man. The articles have been fantastic as always. Follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller, and you can catch him here weekly on the Culotta Show.
Hey, Brody, wait, what the hell? Where'd the mustache go?
I didn't want to.
We were forged in fire, the little brothers.
I don't know if you've gone. Have you gone public with the story yet? I didn't want to be the one that broke the news.
Yeah, no, Lloyd. I have first off, I have to apologize. Second, I'm going to be honest. I didn't mention this on Twitter, but I'll just say it because you guys are my guys. Yeah, I totally just messed it up. Like, there's just no doubt about it. It went. One was like, oh, this is slightly uneven. So I'm like, oh no! And I just went way too far. And I'm just like, it's time. Yeah. So I think I'll bring it back after the season, like January-ish, but caught some else.
Yeah, there's a certain former leader that if you get a little too tight and on the stash, that you you don't really want to be on that team.
Yes. Adolph A. Miller. Yes.
Make your jokes, Brad Kelly.
Have a great day, bro. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Brody Miller, the best. Follow him on The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. Get a subscription today and keep up with his work. We're brought to you daily by Dead Soxy, custom designed socks for you. Tell them about him, Katie, that conversation with Brody Miller brought to you by Dead Soxy.
Use code Jordy for up to 35% off of your order. You can get them virtually overnight. If you ordered now, you'll probably have them tomorrow. Get your purple and gold socks for game day coming up. We got some Go Tigers on here, some Joey Burrows, some Tiger Stripes. Deadsoxy.com. It's dead, SOXY.com. Put in the code Jordy for 35% off your order.
All right, your mailbag questions next. Jacques will be in here at 8:30, so we got about 15 minutes here. We'll answer some questions, check some voicemails. If you want to call in, have a take, don't suck. Phone number's easy, 225-229-7741. 225-229-7741. Call in. We'll take your questions next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Were you about to put that in your mouth?
Just struggling over here. I wanted to put the phone number on the lower third. Yeah, well, we're here already. I wanted to put the phone number up on the lower third. People do a number to call. Then I realized I'm tethered.
And you were gonna hold one of the wires in your mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I couldn't even say anything.
And then I said I don't want to put this in my mouth, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com. Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the Capital Region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southernyecenters.com. That is southernyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out. southernyecenters.com and located at 60.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshon, Boutte,
Malik Neighbors,
Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team. Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
We've seen the BK takeover stuff from LSU and social media, and really in his short time in Baton Rouge, there's been a lot of people embracing his approach to building this roster. What's it like to recruit alongside him?
Oh, it's been great. Coach has been awesome to me because he lets me be myself when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to coaching. He lets his coaches coach, he lets his coaches recruit. So I have no complaints on that end. And when I need him to get in touch with a kid, he's there for me. The communication line has been great. He's just been nothing but supportive.
Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay? I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands.
But they've been asking for their mail on a daily basis. It's all they're talking about up there.
Because the mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let-up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more, and you gotta get it out. But the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in. And then the barcode reader breaks, and it's Publishers Clearinghouse. All right.
I can't believe I'm gonna be a mailman.
Jesus Christ.
That right there is...
All right.
Welcome back to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live on this Wednesday. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We'll be here with you until 9 a.m. this morning. Jacques Doucet just walked into the studio. Be sitting down with us here in a couple of minutes.
I like Jacques to be a part of Mail Time. I think we would get
That's
it'd be
true.
very
He'd probably
interesting
love
for
that.
him. Yeah.
He'd probably love that.
Get to see some personality.
What are you saying, Lloyd?
I'm saying that, you never know what happens at Meal Time, and I don't think they do that at WAFB.
We open way up for everybody.
We might get Jacques in trouble if we put
That's
it on
what I'm
Meal Time.
saying.
All right, remember, we're going to the phone lines here. Lloyd, how are we looking on voicemails?
We have a few.
All right, let's.
Please let one be from an FSU person.
Let's check some voicemails here. We'll also open it up to your phone calls, 225-229-7741. Just a short amount of time here before we get to Jacques.
225.
If we've got
229. What is
we've
it?
got some demand there. We'll open it up here and
7741.
Rove Camaro.
Whatever. Like, I know that.
Look right over your right shoulder.
Well, I get it, but that's not the first thought that comes into my head.
You want us to get you a Willie Rofe painting for your
Panty.
Or
Some
stand up.
panties?
Stand up.
Oh. I don't know if they make woolly roof.
You want a nude of roof?
Yeah.
Yes.
6'8", 370.
The evolved man.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's go to the voicemail here.
Phone.
What we got?
Oh, let me get the password. All right. First one up from Shreveport.
Okay.
Yeah, Jordy, this is T-Ray from Kentucky. I got a 2-part question for you.
Oh, do we bail on voicemails whenever?
Yeah, let's take a live call.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
You're live on the air.
What's your name?
Hey guys, Jeff and Kenner.
Jeff, how we feeling, buddy? How we feeling?
What's going on, fellas?
You tell us. What you got?
Well, I got a comment, Jordy and crew, and then I got a question. The comment is this. I think Josh nailed it, and we all fell for we have a lot of talent, we're going to win theory, and I think he nailed it, that just turning this entire culture over, system, players, everything, is not going to be a quick fix, and I think we all need to sort of come down to earth a little bit on that. That's my comment. As far as question, what would y'all think the two biggest adjustments on each side of the ball, defense and offense, has to be going forward? I'd say I'll give my take.
Yep.
On offense, I think if they're going to stick with Daniels, they've got to run more RPO.
Yep.
And they sort of got away from that. And on defense, I really don't know the answer because it was puzzling how they didn't adjust to the dink and dunk that Florida State did, because that's all they did all game was the 3 and 4-yard passes, a little spread that they ran off tackle. It was frustrating to watch them not adjust. All right, I'll hang up and listen, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for always interacting and listening, buddy. I agree with you on the offense. I think it's getting to an RPO, getting to an identity there. It looked like everybody felt comfortable, from the offensive lineman to the quarterback to the running backs to the wide receivers. It looked like that's where they felt the most comfort level at, so I would continue to exploit that. And on defense, it's got to be something around the third down defense, right? Because I think first and second down, they didn't play bad. And they forced him into some third and long situations, and they really were able to they were creating a push up front. They just didn't make the plays. And you have to credit Florida State's quarterback, Jordan Travis. I mean, he that's probably the best game he's ever played in his life.
Well, I know, but that's
what everyone is
saying. It's not a coincidence.
You got to tackle. I mean, when you miss 14 tackles,
16
17,
tackles. I think they just missed another one.
I mean, you just got to make a tackle. You got to make a play. Go to the voicemail. What we got, Lloyd?
All right, it's Ray. T-Ray.
T-Ray from Kentucky.
Yeah, Jordy, this is T-Ray from Kentucky. I got a 2-part question for you. Number one, do you think you would ever get Brian Polian back on your show? And the other question is, do you think there's a chance that you, Moscona, and T-Bob will ever get the band back together? Thank you.
Appreciate you listening up in Kentucky. Yeah, we'd love to have Brian Polian back on. This is probably not the right week to have Polian on. I'd imagine that he's probably radio silent right now, and probably buried in his office. But yeah, we'd love to get him on at some point. And then why not? T-Bob, Moscona, and the crew. We've talked about it a lot, man. Obviously, we would love to have T-Bob and Moscona and Hester and Hannah Griff and the crew on over here. To me, and in fact, Gordy Rush and I went to lunch for the first time since we made the move.
Who paid?
Gordy paid. But I did take Flynn Foster to lunch, and I paid for that one 6 months after. We moved.
Decided no longer to compete.
Right. But Gordy, and I told Gordy, I was like, man, you should let those guys come on the show, man. I mean, like, what is the why? What's the insecurity?
You think he's gonna let T-Bob come on the show?
I don't think he's gonna let anybody come on the show.
No.
But Gordy made it seem like it wasn't his decision.
Then Gordy can come on the show.
Whose is it?
I'd imagine that it's the suits up top that are still, for whatever reason, rattled by this little podcast.
Whatever reason, because we
It's
blowing up.
It's a little hobby.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just a little
Fringe fan with a microphone.
Fringe fan with a mic over here. Man. I'd love to talk to Hester about his running back thoughts on LSU. Next call, where you at? Or voicemail. Sorry, I was a little hyped there.
Sorry. Oh, it won't. Here we go. Doesn't take my face. It only takes Stewie's face.
Hey, this is Tulane LSU Colin. I'm going to name confidential. But anyway, I haven't been to the Superdome in New Orleans area since 2013. Last time Frank Gilfer kind of Googled my wife. I have a wife from the announcer's booth and kind of make us uncomfortable, so I haven't been back to the city or to Superdome again since. But I took mother out to see the events around the city this past weekend, and I want to say compliment the city. New Orleans is a great place. Really showed up. Despite our debauchery, we did a couple of outfallers, set up a couple of outfallers and a couple of Santa Crosses, and just went on home. But great view for the city this weekend. Thank you.
What the fuck was that?
Okay.
It's a bizarre call.
Seek therapy.
Was
Next
he
call.
Was he a Florida State person?
I don't know.
No, he's from Thibodeau.
Oh. That was odd, but nice.
Yeah. I mean, that was no point for that.
No, but
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, Jordy and team. This is Josh Odom. I live in the DFW area, but I'm originally from Louisiana, northeast Louisiana. I was at the game Sunday in the Dome. My take is that offensively and defensively, we were not aggressive enough. We wasn't taking shots down the field. The defense coverage was so far off. We was playing 5 to 6, 7 yards off the receivers. We was giving up things over the middle. We gave up too many third downs. And secondly, I'd just like to say, everybody is kind of downplaying the dramatic change that happened after Joe Brady left. You can say what you want to say about Insminger, and I give Insminger credit, but he took LSU offense and passing routes and combinations to a whole new level. Yeah. LSU was shut out by Bama in 2016 and 2018 when Steve Insminger was the offense coordinator by himself. You insert Joe Brady, they scored 45 points in Tuscaloosa. He was the big difference. I don't understand why we won't pick him back up. I can't understand why LSU didn't grab him as soon as he left Carolina. He should have been the first person called. He made a difference. Without Joe Brady, our offense has been dead, and it still is dead.
I'm alive.
Look, I agree with you, and you got to give Joe Burrow a large amount of credit that on that offense too in 2019. But Joe Brady was the mastermind behind that. He was the one that created those concepts and created those routes and those formations and all of the mismatches that 2019 was able to devise came through the mind of Joe Brady. And the fact of the matter is, Brady hates coaching college football. He just that's not right to say. He doesn't like the recruiting aspect of coaching college football. He loves coaching football, and I'd imagine he would, feel very comfortable being an offensive coordinator at a big-time school like LSU. But then you have to ask him, 4 months, 5 months out of the year, really 12 months out of the year to recruit. And the offensive coordinator has to have a presence in recruiting.
Yeah,
Brady didn't like it at all. You know what I mean? Like, he was in an airport in Maryland chasing Caleb Williams around during preparation for the Peach Bowl, and he was irate. He was just calling back and telling people what they needed to be doing. And it's just, he's a pro coach. He's put me in the facility, lock the door, give me the film, let me know who I'm coaching, and I'll scheme them up. And by the way, he was a total
it's sacrificial lamb.
He was an absolute, they put it on him in Carolina, and he did not deserve that. I mean, he was a guy that they looked at Matt Rule and they said, you got to make some coaches changes on your staff or you're going to be gone. And, Joe Brady took the bullet there. And there were high times and there were, some inconsistent times. But I mean, Sam Darnold and Cam Newton at the end of his career, you can't make water out of wine.
No Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, like.
Football God can.
Football God.
Football God. Let's go.
Oh,
from Tallahassee.
Birmingham.
Have a take, don't suck. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
HH in the Rocket City. I'm surprised. I'm this bummed out about LSU losing on Sunday night. I guess I got too high on Jordy's supply, but hey, I digress.
It's that good.
Obviously, everybody down there wants to compare PK's first year to Saban's at Alabama, but we haven't talked about Saban losing to Florida State on a neutral site in his first year too. So, Hey, what happened to Rohan's show on this past Thursday? It's not on YouTube anymore. Anyway, as always, keep up the good work and roll Tide.
Oh,
All right, thank you. Wait, Saban lost.
Jammers.
Saban lost to Florida State.
When?
Was that a true take?
At Alabama?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. What was he talking about? Or did he lose to him somewhere else?
He didn't lose to him at LSU.
Did y'all listen
and
to
as far as
that?
the
I heard
Rohan
what he
show,
said. He
Did
was,
y'all hear what he said?
Yeah, I think he was saying, would it be the same amount of what would the perception have been had Nick Saban done the same thing that Brian Kelly just did?
I don't know. That's a weird comparison.
yeah.
But okay.
I mean, look, Saban lost to UAB his first year. I mean, people were they were down on him at times.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, but it was evident that what he was doing was going to change the way that LSU really operated. And I think Brian Kelly is trying to re-implement a lot of that stuff. Not re-implement it because it's still been there, but just kind of update it. You know, update the policy and procedures.
What do you think year one Nick Saban would have said in that press conference yesterday after that little dust up?
Oh, he'd have told you
To
about.
Leah?
He'd have told. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
He would have been mean. She might have cried.
I don't know. All right, Jacques in studio. We're going to talk to him next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll go back to your mailbag questions if
we feel like it.
Yeah, if we can. All right, come back with us. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. We love the crew over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew dropping off the meals every Monday here to FM Digital Media, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Me or the crew's going through our meals over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Their weekly pre-order, freshly made meals, or you can walk into the cooler over there on Airline Highway. They have that fresh, same service over there at Fresh Chef Eats. FreshChefEats.com is where you can find them online. Fresh Chef Kitchen. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team. Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out, southerneyecenters.com, and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live on this Wednesday morning. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind, as we get going here, talking more LSU, reacting to last week, and start to look ahead to LSU Southern coming up on Saturday. That'll be an evening kick, a night kick for LSU and the Jaguars. Obviously, everybody kind of talking about it, and we always link up with our broadcast partners, our TV partners, WAFB, and our guy, Jock Ducey, who's in here every Wednesday with us, kind of chopping it up, talking about what's going on in the world of sports. JD, good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Good morning to everybody here. Looks like we got a little cool front coming in next week. It's nice fall weather. And
Football weather.
Yeah, we got
Finally.
NFL this week. We got the Bills and the Rams on Thursday. The Saints kicking off Sunday. I love the Sunday night game, by the way. Brady and the Bucks taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. So, yeah, it's a great time of year.
Before we jump into LSU, before we jump into what's going on, Sportsline, Friday night, back for another season.
Yeah.
High school football, and really high school football in this area, man, with Zachary and Catholic High and U High and Woodlawn and all these powerhouses with big-time players, and really look like they're going to make a run at it. It should be a really fun season to cover the sport.
Yeah, we've had state champions, a handful of state champions every year, it feels like. I mean, even if you go up that 110 route where you're talking about, Madison Prep and Southern Lab and into Zachary and all those schools, and, certainly Catholic High. And, yeah, we got a lot of great local teams. Looking forward to getting out and covering it. 10:10 is our start time on WAFB, and then we switch over to Cox 16, WBXH, and so we do around a 45, 50-minute show altogether, and we stream the whole thing online. And so Steve Schneider started the show 33 years ago, and still rolling hard. And we'll be throwing out the Sportsline footballs too at the local games, so keep your eye out for that. And then I should have said on Sunday we've got Burrow and the Bengals taking on the Steelers. That's our WAFB NFL game at noon. So go to your local sports bar where they got the ticket. You could watch the Saints and the Bengals at the same time there.
That'll be cool, man. All right, LSU, Sunday night. Obviously, lots of build-up to that one. I know that we've reacted for the most part on just kind of what we saw, but now having a chance to hear Brian Kelly speak with the media yesterday, how do you analyze what LSU got going in their first game under his direction?
Well, first of all, it was not LSU versus Oregon 2011. These were not two top 5 teams going at it. I mean, these were two unranked teams, and both teams did their share to lose the game. Obviously Florida State and the ridiculous play call on the goal line to fumble it away. They made their share of mistakes throughout. LSU special teams obviously were a circus, fumbling the 2 punts. It didn't lead to any points, but it certainly robbed LSU possessions in which they could have done something with the ball. The 30-yard field goal blocked in the first half, an extra point to force overtime blocked, a punt that was shanked that led to a Florida State field goal. Those were all, bad things. Certainly it was a misleading start. Jayden Daniels breaks off a 25-yard run on the first play of the game. He gets hit late. It's a 40-yard play altogether. You're first and goal or second and goal at the 5-yard line, and the snap goes awry and you lose 14 yards. It would have been nice to take a 7-0 lead. So the offense found its footing late in the game. How much was that predicated by Florida State's defense? We'll find out. LSU's defense didn't make any electric plays. I know they made some plays here and there, but all we talked about the defensive line, we expected some sacks. We expected some maybe forced fumbles. I think DBU only intercepted 8 passes last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't intercept any passes in this game. So, all in all, a really rough loss. I think you told me yesterday, look, if LSU would have won the game, the football gods would have paid them back, later. I mean, the extreme of that is 2002, the Bluegrass Miracle, and then the regular season finale, LSU lost to Arkansas.
Well, the next week they got beat by Alabama 33-0.
Yeah, 31-0. I mean, Nick Saban was furious after the Bluegrass Miracle.
He was. I told that story earlier this week. Whoever interviewed him on the side, he had his hands on his hips, and he's kind of like going back and forth. We had no business with he's like all pissed off.
I think he let off. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I feel bad for Kentucky's players,
Right.
And, it's just they really played like garbage. And then really this one play happens and they win, in the second half. Anyway, but a great atmosphere. I mean, I know these neutral site games are a controversial subject. I mean, you and I grew up going to Tiger Stadium, seeing Florida State in Tiger Stadium, Miami of Florida, Texas A&M when they were in the SEC.
Yeah. Virginia Tech.
And to LSU's defense, they did have Texas coming back in 2020. Yeah. COVID ruined that. UCLA is coming back in 2024, and they do have this home-and-home with Clemson in 25 and 26. So, but I don't mind taking weather out of the equation. Obviously, it's rained every single day, and the heat. Look, Florida State brought their fans. This talk of them only bringing a certain amount. They had 35,000 fans in the Dome, and LSU brought their fans. Yeah.
Really
and there's something about the start of the season, right? I mean, if Florida State and LSU play in a bowl game, they don't sell 68,000 tickets.
You're right.
There's something about the energy of the season kicking off. So that's just me rambling about the first game, but those are some thoughts.
Maybe a positive, most alarming thing you saw was the best thing you saw. What was the best thing you saw from LSU on Saturday? And I know it's tough to dive into that because it was a very sloppy game, but is there any good you take away from it?
Well, I think you and I talked about it yesterday. Jordy Jenkins is never the first wide receiver we talk about in terms of his skill set and what he brings to the table. But if you look at it, I mean, I feel like he's their most consistent performer. If you go back to 2020, I think, that season opener against Mississippi State, I think he caught the first, long passes in that game when we spent the whole preseason talking about Racey McMath and Terrence Marshall, and then he caught the game winner at Arkansas in 2020 from TJ Finley. Like last year when Tyrion Davis-Price ripped off the 287 against Florida, he caught 3 touchdowns in Tiger Stadium. He catches the touchdown to win the game against Texas A&M, and in the bowl game he caught a touchdown. He was one of the few people that showed up at the bowl game and said, hey, let's make the most of this. And I think the post-game interviews, that might be an interesting or an odd thing to say, but I think the LSU fans who watched the way Jayden Daniels and Jordy Jenkins and some of these guys handled their post-game interviews, they were impressed. They said, these guys are leaders. Jordy Jenkins talked about Malik fumbling the two punts and said, hey, look, man, that's in the past. We're behind you. And Malik caught 2 passes on what should have been the game-tying drive. So, I thought Jordy was, he caught 2 touchdowns. Certainly that last touchdown was high and hot, and he went up and got it. And so those are some positives that I took away from the game.
What was the most alarming thing you saw?
Well, Kayshon not catching a pass or touching or, having any yards till 5.5 minutes left. I would not have expected that. I think that they need. Remember Florida State in the second half ran that end around to one of those guys, and they need to do some of that. They need to get his hands on the ball a little bit. The body language thing is an interesting topic. I've had people tell me, boy, you sure looked pissed the other night. I wasn't. I might have looked that way, Yeah. So, sometimes people look one way and they don't feel that way. So a lot of body language interpretation by people and a lot of NIL talk and this and that. There was some talk about Brian Kelly and his body language. He's not emotional like Coach O. I mean, Coach O was, you saw that raw emotion on the sidelines. That's what we've been used to. He's different. So, I just thought the defense, like you said, didn't get off the field on third down. I'm not sure what this running game is going to produce. There were some plays here or there, but there was not the big 25, 30-yard run. So, we'll see. There was a lot of tuck and run, backyard ball in the first half with Jayden Daniels. That's not going to get it done in the SEC. So, a few things.
What'd you make of Jayden Daniels?
Well, obviously, when we went to camp and he would tuck and run, it was like, ooh, this is electric.
Yeah.
And certainly on the first play of the game, it was electric. And, he's not 225 pounds. And so that's a question. How many times can he get hit? And then late in the year, is he wearing out? But that was, he led him down the field, 99 yards on the final drive. And, I thought we were going to see Garrett Nussmeier at some point.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Yeah,
and he got asked about it yesterday, and that wasn't even the topic of conversation. So
I was surprised by that.
Did he not say, like, all during camp, they're right, we got a 1A and a 1B, and they're right there. And, so he did grimace back in the spring. Coach, will you play two quarterbacks? Ooh, like he didn't want to do it. But I read a great article by Brody Miller of The Athletic that showed he has played two quarterbacks a lot during his career. So I would expect Garrett to play this weekend. But, I was surprised that he went start to finish because there definitely were a lot of struggles before LSU finally kind of found their footing late in the third quarter because it was a dud for about 3 quarters from LSU.
You went to a lot of the practices that were allotted to the media. You saw pretty much all of them. How much tackling did you notice in preseason camp?
Well, I think that's always a tough thing, right? That is a dance in terms of, we would hear about Les Miles and before the national championship game against Alabama and how they were headbanging for a month and they didn't have their legs and too much hitting. And then you had the thing, well, you don't want to get in the game and guys are fumbling and getting hit because they haven't gotten hit in camp. So, I think they did their best job with it. I'll never forget, Leonard Fournette getting hurt in 2016 in the camp and thinking to myself, how does that happen? How do you injure Leonard Fournette in camp? So I think that's the difficulty in terms of trying to get the guys ready and trying for them to get hit. And then also you don't want to have any, he's talked a lot about soft tissue injuries and we don't want that kind of stuff. So when they scrimmaged, it was a kind of thud. Mm-hmm. I don't think they ever really brought guys down to the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I feel bad for Mason Smith.
Just a freakish, up in the press box, I didn't really see what had happened. I saw when he walked off the field, he was in terrible pain, and it was a bad sign. But looking at Darren DeQuano's video, the guy he ran through the air to celebrate, hit the ground, and immediately, something's wrong. And so that's football when those things happen. You spend all the preseason talking about certain guys, and then sometimes they immediately get hurt and they're out. So it's terrible. I remember going to Devon Gottschall did his free football camp in Plaquemine and going to talk to him. And what do you think about this defense in LSU? And he was the first guy he brought up. Man, I love my guy Mason Smith, man. He's going to have a huge year. Blah, blah. And so that's an awful thing, man. I feel bad for him.
Really, on the play, he got hurt. If you watch it, he blows the play up. He really kind of makes the play without being on the ball. And it just, it is tough to watch.
Some big baby Glenn Davis in him. Like, how does a guy this size move like that?
Definitely. Definitely.
Is there is there anything any merit to them wearing knee braces all camp, all spring, all fall, and then he obviously doesn't wear a knee brace that game?
Yeah, that might be a question for the SEC teleconference today. Coach Kelly goes on at 10 a.m., but I did see some kind of chatter here and there about the knee braces and what do they mean and stuff. So that might be a question for today.
Special teams woes fixable?
Yeah, I would think so. I feel bad for a guy. Mason Taylor, for a true freshman to go out and catch 5 passes. I joked that yesterday that was a 1-year total for Les Miles. Like a tight end would have like 5 catches all year. And by the Music City Bowl, Deshaun Smith caught 5 passes. Like, look, he can catch. Throw him the ball. And then next year they don't throw him the ball 5 times all year. But and a heads-up play by him, like I told you yesterday, the testosterone didn't override his brain and say, I'm gonna run over these 2 guys at the goal line. He was heady enough to get out of bounds and give him the last play. Apparently he missed the block at the end or whatever. But I had to put that more on the coaches to, have veteran guys in there to block or whatever. So I would think they're fixable. I would hope so. I mean, you don't want to see anything like that happen again. But, kind of like Les Miles' first game, the defense. Remember Arizona State? They just got
we
ripped.
were talking about that.
And then after that, they made adjustments and got a lot better. So hopefully special teams are similar.
I agree. And we referenced that Arizona State game just because of the defense. Obviously, Pelini, people were like, what are we watching? And the defensive backs were playing 7-8 yards off the ball. They weren't pressing. They weren't playing man. They had all these athletes everywhere. And it was just – and then they made this transition where you're like, there it is. That's what people have been wanting. And it happened very immediate.
Yeah.
I would say the same about this defense, right? I mean, this defense I thought they played pretty good. I mean, they were forcing some third down situations. They just couldn't get off the field from a playmaking standpoint.
The middle of the field, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of it was Florida State shallow crossed LSU to death.
Yeah.
And then I think their first big completion, it was just right over the middle. And so, getting off the field on third down. And the LSU's defense was on the field way too long. I think at one point the time of possession was 13-3 or something like that. So that is a misleading statistic a lot of times, time of possession, but it isn't in terms of getting tired and getting worn out.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought for that sake of LSU, they looked really good in the fourth quarter. Like they looked like they were in shape. That final drive, they were moving. They were on the ball. They were, you didn't see a lot of people kind of lagging behind in the fourth quarter. They were still moving around out there. So this is a team that, if nothing else, they're in really good shape early on in the season. I know that the Mason Smith thing just sucks. There's no way to paint that it's just anything but bad. This weekend, Southern in Tiger Stadium. First time LSU's played a SWAC team. First time Southern and LSU obviously have matched up. They're 10 miles away from one another. You've covered both programs at certain points. Even that 2003 season when they shared the championship parade with Pete Richardson and Nick Saban sitting on the back of the convertibles together, kind of waving to the crowd. This should be a pretty cool weekend, right?
Yeah. Certainly I've covered tons of LSU Southern baseball games, maybe a couple of LSU Southern basketball games. This was always the topic. Is this game a good idea or not? And I think it is a good idea. I think everyone, look, there are probably going to be pockets of people here or there that maybe don't act the way they should or whatnot. And if something like that happens, I hope nobody labels and says, well, all LSU fans acted this way, or all, let's not do that. Let's not have like 24 people label the
ruin
entire.
It for everybody.
Yeah, and we're guilty of doing that, just like these knuckleheads who go online and threaten LSU players after the game, and then somebody, LSU fans, that's the way they act. It's like any group of people. There's bad apples here. Don't let the bad apples label the whole bunch. But I think it's going to be great. I think you'll see people coming together who, quite frankly, have never come together and having a good time and cooking food and whatnot. Look, LSU's a 47.5-point favorite. I hope that some of those Southern guys make plays, and I don't want to get drilled for this, but I hope they score a couple touchdowns and have some moments in Tiger Stadium and have things to talk about the rest of their lives.
Block an extra point.
Yeah, can you imagine if they block an extra point right away? But look. I told you yesterday, Garth Brooks was the show that everyone had been waiting for. Well, second on the list is the Human Jukebox. I've been hearing for years the LSU fans want to see the Human Jukebox in Tiger Stadium and the dancing dolls and all that. And they certainly put on a show and have a taste of HBCU in your stadium. So I think it'll be great. I wish the weather would be a little better. It looks like it's going to rain and all that, but hopefully, it'll all be okay.
Absolutely. JD, thank you, buddy. It's great to see you, man. What's coming up?
Well, I shot a Jacques talk with a guy named Jordy Culotta yesterday.
Wow, what a douchebag.
Yeah. this rebel of the local sports media. But no, had a great talk with you yesterday. Yeah. I think that's going to be posted today. We got sports on Friday, like I said, 10 p.m. And then we'll have the Bengals and the Steelers at noon.
Wow.
On Sunday. And so we got a lot of great stuff coming up.
WAFB.com/Jordy for any of the content that you miss here that you want to check out with our news partners. But as always, the website is great, man. They get about 100,000 clicks a day on people just kind of trying to get updates on news stories, on weather, on traffic, whatever you may be looking for. WAFB, they do it better than anybody in the state. Check them out, WAFB.com, and we're always proud to say that they are our partners in television and sharing digital content media. So we'll be back with more and close it out here. The Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered as always by Go Chevrolet. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
We love the crew over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew dropping off the meals every Monday here to FM Digital Media, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Me or the crew's going through our meals over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Their weekly pre-order, freshly made meals, or you can walk into the cooler over there on Airline Highway. They have that fresh, same service over there at Fresh Chef Eats. FreshChefEats.com is where you can find them online. Fresh Chef Kitchen. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshon, Boutte,
Malik Neighbors,
Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team. Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com. Here, Jordy Culotta Show, closing it out on this Wednesday. Stick around. We will have our recruiting power hour with Shay Dixon as he'll come through here at around 9:30, and we will talk recruiting with Shay. We'll also get his thoughts on week 1 of LSU football, week ahead with Southern in town. How do they use their first home game to help them in recruiting? And how was last weekend? It was kind of a little bit of an outlying situation where you're in a neutral site game, but you're able to use the Superdome and the game and the environment as a recruiting tool. How did that work for LSU. We'll talk all about it with Shea Dixon coming up here in about 30 minutes. So stick around and make sure you got that bell clicked on your homepage of the Jordy Culotta Show on YouTube. If you have not already subscribed, hit the subscription button and hit the bell. And as soon as we go live, you'll be notified. And we'll catch you up on the latest on recruiting, on official visits, and get Shay's thoughts on LSU after a week. From On 3, Shea Dixon will be here. Thank you, as always, for everybody's interaction. Remember to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you this morning. And as always, we're brought to you by Go Chevrolet.